Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stock Market Show. This is your host, Shades. So, for those of you who don't know, we have the biggest resistance going to be up here, 005s. That's going to be the big level. We go to the weekly. It's very clear, very obvious here. That's going to be one big level to get over. If we can get over that, we can go back to 007s because the next resistance is going to be up here at 007. From there, back to 1 cent at that point. And we've seen this before, right? It dropped from 6.5 cents to a penny, and then it just continued to bounce off of that penny before the CE designation, and then it came down nice and cheap and bounced around here in this range between 0013 and 007. So in CE, it was capable of doing that. I think now it's much more than capable of getting back to at least a penny. I believe that 2 pennies, we'll see. We weren't even able to get above 2 cents because this was very orchestrated. Discord and Telegram and Twitter influencers just pumping it. And even then, even with all that volume that was brought in, it just wasn't able to get above that 2 cent level. You can see this very powerful candle here. Very clear sign like, yeah, this is probably going to come down. And it did. It did come down, found some support here at 005s. Did not hold here in February, and we've been taking since then. But on the plus side, congratulations to the people who bought the dip. Because now the question is, are we just going to go sideways here? Because if that's the case, I mean, we're fine. At this point, we can wait. The good thing about Cybl stock is it's not like AITX. AITX, the problem with AITX, it goes sideways for a while, and then it breaks down lower, right? Why does that happen? Because they constantly need to dilute to stay afloat. That's why their share structure is so bad. And also, there's a head and shoulders, very obvious head and shoulders here on the monthly and the weekly. So that's also not a good look. But they continue to dilute just to stay afloat. Cybl does not need to do that. So there's no real downward pressure to keep us suppressed and going lower. ILIS, I don't remember ILIS's big issue. I think ILIS's big issue was just they just don't communicate. They communicate, but it was like every now and then. Yet that much is obvious by the charts. Only every now and then they would communicate, and my computer is being very... I'm going to have to go to Task Manager and see what's going on there. But, yeah, ILIS. Huge pump, and they communicate every now and then, and it gets another pump, right? It gets another pump, more pumps. But the problem is, it just continues to go lower. Maybe it finally found its bottom at 0007s, but it's not really a bottom you want. ILIS just has a communication issue. It has all these subsidiaries and doesn't even talk about them. Doesn't even go in depth about, hey, we're doing this is going on. This is what's been happening with this subsidiary. This subsidiary is performing better than now versus back then because blah blah blah. No, they don't do any of that. Whereas Cybl does. They will in their earnings outline, hey, here's what's been going on with each of these subsidiaries, UAS and all the other ones. They don't communicate. AITX communicates too much, maybe. Because they kind of just drop some fluff PRs. Whereas Cybl, when they talk, it's important. You know what I'm saying? Like when they actually communicate, it's important, but it's also consistent enough and often enough that the share price can not only hold the bottom, but also move on its own back to the upside. Something that ILIS can't really do without a catalyst or something to get people excited. Same thing with AITX. And AITX requires way too much volume to even get going because of that, bloated share structure. But Cybl, it's not going to take it much to get going. And we're seeing that right now. I'm pretty sure this is all retail. Sellers, where are they? They showed up here, the flippers that are going to flip here, of course. But buyers continue to show up. I'm sure buyers are going to reveal to us. They love it, clearly. They love it down here. I'm going to look at the volume real quick. It's rare that I look at volume. Let me see. What's the volume here? So we bottomed out on that. This is a powerful candle, by the way, as well. Where was it? There's that. Look at that. That's a very powerful candle. It's following the market. That's what's interesting. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the market's been, there's a lot of these candles everywhere in the markets. That's a very powerful candle after this huge drop. You look at Palantir, and it's the exact same thing. Like, look at that powerful candle. That's actually very, very powerful. But let me show you the SPY. I think the SPY is a better representation, and I still don't know why is my computer taking a massive dump right now. SPY, and look at that. That's a beautiful, beautiful candle. Look at that. That means we're gonna go higher, reverse here. I'm trying to see if there's any. Yeah, look at this one right here. Look at that. I think it indicates a reversal, in my opinion. You can call it a big boy hammer, whatever you want to call it. I call that a hammer, though. It doesn't have to be exact, perfect. Like in the pictures that they show, look at that. NVIDIA, so tech, same thing. Cybl, if it's gonna follow the market, which a lot of people were saying, oh, it's not following the market. I don't know if it is or not, but what I do know is it's looking pretty one for one here with these powerful candles that are showing up on the monthly. If you don't look at the higher time frames, you might miss out on this information. Also, the weekly, we are very close to getting that crossover. If that crossover is not successful, that's fine. We're probably just going to go sideways here, like it did back here, and that's okay. Eventually, we'll get another catalyst and we'll move up, as long as it takes. I'd rather it go sideways and hold the bottom somewhere than pull in AITX or ILIS and just go sit down at triple zeros and only move every now and then, if at all. AITX, it just takes too much for it to get moving. So that's kind of like the big weakness of that one. Let me see. The last time we got a cross on over here, I mean, it was just opportunity. In fact, the crossover back here was nothing more than your signal to keep accumulating. And then eventually we had this huge pump. So guess what? If history is going to repeat itself, just like when it ran to 6.5 cents, just like when it ran to 2.5 cents, when it bottomed out at 1 penny after that initial 6.5 cent run, just like, you know, it was in CE and then it ran again. If history is going to continue to repeat, and we're the kind of traders that abuse patterns, longer term patterns, because again, this is the weekly chart. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow it's not going to pump. This is why I didn't take the loss, because I see and you see what I see here. There's a pattern over the course of years that has shown itself. Yes, we dump, we come down real cheap, and then we pump again. People get excited again, and then you start to those people that chase the top, they hold the bag, and the cycle repeats over and over. And this just comes with experience, right? If you've been around as long as I have, since 2021, I've seen it all now, and I see like, okay, I'm better as a trader now, and more than anything better at recognizing these longer term patterns. But in order to recognize those longer term patterns, what is required? You actually have to have a couple years of experience under your belt to be able to see these longer term patterns on the monthly, yearly, right? It just makes sense. You can't expect to see these patterns if you've only been in the market for 1 year. That's just not a lot of data. I've seen this before. This is a buy. That is it for the video. As always, I'll see you in the next one.